Okay, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, March 16th, 2022 meeting of the Northborough-Southborough Regional School Committee. The first order of business is our public hearing on the fiscal year 2023 budget.
Thank you.
To the superintendent.
Thank you. The Northborough-Southborough Regional School Committee is committed to providing an exceptional educational experience for all students in a cost-effective manner. The district believes that strong partnerships with parents, the community, and the town government are essential in developing a fiscally responsible and educationally sound school budget. The school leadership team and committee utilizes its budget priorities, the strategic objectives outlined in the district's strategic plan, Vision 2026, and the mission and vision of the district as guiding principles throughout the budget process to develop a budget that supports an exceptional education for all students. Copies of the fiscal year 2023 school committee voted and approved line item budgets are available online at the central office, Northborough town offices, and Southborough town offices. This evening, Rebecca Pellegrino will be providing a total of the FY23 budget subcategories by function classification as part of the public hearing process.
Good evening. So for regular education, we have function classification administration, which is the series 1000. This includes fiscal audit, treasurer's office, school committee, superintendent, assistant superintendent, district-wide administration, business and finance, human resources, legal services, and administrative technology for a total of $712,689. The function classification instruction for the Series 2000 includes supervision, department heads, instructional technology, leadership and training, principal's office, administrative technology and support for the school, teacher salaries, teacher specialist salaries, instructional coordinators, substitutes, instructional assistants, librarian media salaries, distance learning and online coursework, professional development for leadership, teacher, instructional staff, and also substitutes, textbooks, instructional materials, other instructional materials, instructional equipment, general supplies, instructional hardware devices, instructional hardware all other, instructional software, and other instructional materials and guidance services for a total of $12,174,498. Function classification other student services, the Series 3000, includes health services, transportation, both contracted and other, athletics, and other student activities for a total of $2,187,175. Function classification, operation and maintenance of buildings, Series 4000, includes custodial services and supplies, heating, electricity, telephone, gasoline, water, sewer, maintenance of grounds and buildings, maintenance of equipment, technology infrastructure, maintenance and support, both salaries and all other, for a total of $1,988,471. Function classification benefits and fixed charges, the Series 5000, includes employee retirement program, OPEB, insurance, both health insurance, retirees health insurance, life insurance, Medicare, workers' compensation, unemployment compensation, comprehensive liability insurance, and rentals and leases for a total of $4,367,478. Programs with other school districts, the Series 9000, includes school choice and charter schools for a total of $200,000. And for our regular day program total, it is $21,630,311, or a 2.89% increase over fiscal year 2022. For special education, that includes function classification administration Series 1000, including legal services and administrative technology for $19,000. Function classification instruction, the Series 2000, includes supervision, the Director of Student Support Services, Assistant Directors of Student Support Services, Assistant to Special Education, office salaries, supplies, dues, and miscellaneous expenses and travel, instruction, which is teacher salaries, teacher substitutes, tutor, home and hospital, and in-school, ABA, extended year, transition services, extended day, aid salaries, consultants, community life skills, supplies, professional development, textbooks, instructional technology, and psychological services for a total of $2,968,858. Function classification, other student services, the Series 3000, includes health services and transportation for a total of $334,767. Function classification, operation and maintenance of buildings, Series 4000, includes maintenance of equipment for special education, $2,100. Function classification, fixed charges, the Series 5000, includes rentals and leases and contractual obligations. That is $1,595. And then finally, function classification, programs with other school districts, Series 9000, includes tuition out and tuition out collaboratives for a total of $770,450. The total special education portion of the budget is $4,096,770, or a 3.61% increase over fiscal year 2022. In total, the fiscal year 2023 operational budget is $25,727,081, and this represents an overall increase of $750,378, or 3.0% increase over fiscal year 2022.
Becky, at this point, I'd like to open it up to public comment on the fiscal 2023 budget. Seeing none, that I believe closes our public hearing on the fiscal 23 budget, and we'll move on to our regular agenda, starting with public comment. Do we have any comment from anyone? Seeing none, we'll move on to action on minutes. I'd like to entertain a proposal to approve the minutes of the open meeting of February 16th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dan, seconded by Chris. Any comments, questions? All in favor? That is unanimous. Educational policy, we have a DECA trip to approve.
So we had a very successful DECA event this past weekend, and as a result, we have students who are going on to the next stage of the DECA experience. So Principal Bevin, I don't know if you want to share a little bit of details around the next steps.
Sure. As you probably know, our DECA program is very successful. It's one of our strongest programs, and a real point of pride for us here at the school. And so 20 of our students have qualified for the national conference in Atlanta, and that conference takes place on Saturday, April 23rd, and finishes on Tuesday, April 25th. And we have two chaperones going, and I apologize that these details were not included in the packet over the weekend and had to be added late, but it should be as I understand it, it's a really exciting opportunity for students and a chance for them to show off on the national stage. Our kids did very well over the weekend in Boston. We send one of the largest contingents in Massachusetts DECA to that conference, and so it's not a surprise that we have lots of students advancing through, but it's nonetheless something we're really excited about and proud of.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve DECA's overnight field trip to the International Career Development Conference, April 23rd to 27th, 2022 in Atlanta.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dan, seconded by Karen. Any questions, comments? All in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all the DECA winners. That's quite a feat.
It is, yeah.
At this point, out of an abundance of caution, as they say, we are going to lose a quorum when one of our members has to leave a little later. So with the will of the committee, I'd like to move up items E, 4, 5, and 6, which are the only other items that require a vote tonight.
Mr. Desmond, also D4, approval of grants and donations is the only other item that requires a vote.
Okay. I think we'll be safe on that one, but, so it's okay if we move up those items
Yep.
under E?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Becky, if you don't mind, could we start with monthly general fund expenditure?
Absolutely. So we have 4 months remaining in fiscal year 2022, and we are working to clean up any outstanding purchase orders and also make projections for any funds that will be needed at the end of the school year. As you can see, as of February 28th, 2022, we had $295,598 remaining on the bottom line, or 1.18%. In comparison to the same time last year, we had $556,219, or 2.3% remaining. The two line items that we're really watching closely are our electricity and our heating line items. We are seeing a higher usage rate at this time. However, we do think that our projections are good for the remainder of the year, and we're hopeful that this nice weather will maybe help us out with our heating costs. So at this time, I don't have any concerns with the budget.
Okay.
Heating costs are locked in.
The rate is, but if we're using it
Using
more,
more, obviously,
yes.
but we're not
Yes,
subject to
Exactly.
fluctuations.
exactly.
Okay, and do I hear a motion to approve the fiscal 22 budget monthly general fund expenditure report as of February 28th, 2022 until audited?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Chris, seconded by Dan. Any questions? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, Becky.
Revenue.
Statement of revenue?
Okay. So in February, we did receive the March 1st assessments from both Northborough and Southborough. You'll also notice that we did receive our first regional transportation funds from the state. However, it is right now coming in at 80% of the reimbursement rate versus the 91 to 92% that had originally been proposed. MARS is working with the legislative delegation to try to file an amendment to increase that amount. You'll also notice that we've revised our projections for athletic receipts. Our gate receipts for the winter were dramatically impacted due to the surge that we had over the holidays. So we have also seen a decrease in the number of student athletes just due to the lower enrollment numbers. So we are working with Mike Massarino and Susan Burns to look at any anticipated expenses for the remainder of the year. However, we did start the fiscal year with a fund balance just shy of $80,000, so I am confident that if these numbers do come in, that we will be able to absorb any changes.
Okay. Any questions? All right. We'll entertain a motion to approve the statement of revenue as of February 28th, 2022 until audited.
So moved.
Second.
By Dan, seconded by Sean. All in favor? That is unanimous. Just the audit report?
Yes, so on March 7th, the Regional Audit Subcommittee met with auditors to receive the annual audit, and Mr. Covino and Mr. Bucca were present as the subcommittee members, and we had a very positive auditing report. And Chris, I don't know if you want to speak to some of the highlights.
I do. So essentially the audit was so clean that the auditor did not feel that the district merited any kind of management letter whatsoever. Essentially, this is due to the hard work of the staff on our finance team. It's amazing, and they had nothing but positive feedback to provide about their performance. There were a couple things that were kind of a little interesting and a little stunning, and it has nothing really to do with the management of the district per se, but it definitely relates to OPEB and the amount of money that we should be placing into OPEB. The OPEB liability grew from $35 million at the end of 2019 to about $46 million at the end of 2021. And right now, I might be getting the numbers a little off, but right now those benefits constitute less than 1% of our budget, but by 2030, if nothing is done about it, they could constitute upwards of 7% of the district's total budget. And essentially what we need to do at some point here, and the policy subcommittee needs to look at, is developing some kind of policy where we have a, I don't want to use the word generous, but a significant amount of money annually is put into OPEB to avoid having essentially hitting a wall where it will significantly impact our ability to operate the school. So the auditor, I believe the actuary, is actually going to send us some sample policies from other school districts. Our district is funded on the low side of, the very low side of average. Not all districts are particularly well funded, but ours is, even though we've been making small contributions, it's not particularly, it's not going to be enough in the end. So there was an inquiry made about anything being done on the state level to reduce this burden on municipalities and local school districts, and we were told that it has gone to committee several times, but nothing of any value has ever come out of it. So we do have to figure out a way to make sure we're able to maintain the school and the services, the amazing services that the school is able to provide to the students of our district. And it's going to definitely require some work on our end going forward. So that's really about it. Thank you.
So I just want to echo your remarks. You know, the financial team at the central office under Becky's leadership, they've done an outstanding job. We've also added an accountant, Sunny Cox, who's been a great addition to the team and has really been a value add in terms of the products and the work at the central office. So I just want to compliment Becky and the team and all the hard work. It's greatly appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
I think probably most people would fear an audit, but not Becky and team.
We're actually starting one for our end of year report, just because we love them so much.
There you go. Well done.
So we need to vote to accept, I guess I'll entertain a motion to accept the audit report for the year ended June 30, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Chris, seconded by Dan. All in favor? That's unanimous. Congratulations, Becky and team.
Good job.
Okay, I think that brings us back to new business, the COVID-19 update.
I think it's kind of ironic that we call this new business.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, good one.
Moving you down. It's nice to see all of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, since the last time we met, masks have become optional on February 28th. Things seem to be going well, as far as I can tell.
Yep.
Mr. Bevan could probably give us more details on that. In the past 2 weeks, we've had 3 cases at the high school each week. First week, unrelated. Last week, there was a possibility of some transmission that happened at an extracurricular activity, so we did do some modified contact tracing, notified the students and the families, and there was no further spread from those 3 cases. Daily attendance percentage is what we've been monitoring with the MAT, and at the high school, they've been just around 94% each week for the past four weeks. So there's been no significant change since removing the masks. And really, I think that's it for my update. Things are looking good, so I'm open to any questions.
Chris?
That's the best COVID update I've heard in months, for sure. So thank you very much for your hard work, and I'm sure Mr. Bevan can speak to the fact that many of the students are comfortable wearing masks if they choose, and not wearing masks if that's what they choose, and are eager to, again, to see and happy to see people's faces.
Yeah, that's been my experience. We have had no incidents that I'm aware of teasing or any conflict of any kind. I think kids who choose to wear masks, I do oftentimes. Sometimes I take it down, and it is something that people are used to, and it's accepted. And I think actually Lindsay would probably know more. I I think we had a higher percentage on the first day and the first hours, and it kind of changed and fluctuated as people became more, more comfortable. So I don't know what your sense is.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm a little sick, you can hear now. So I've been wearing my mask a little bit at school, and I mean, I find no one questions it or like looks at me weird. I mean, there's, in all my classes, I think at least maybe 5 or a little less have been wearing them, and really no one questions it. A lot of teachers still wear them, so I feel like it's so comfortable, and yeah, I haven't heard anything bad, so I would say it's going well.
Yeah, it was a welcome change that people were excited about, and we've slipped right back into, school as usual. And, Mary Ellen did such a wonderful job steering us through this whole experience. Not to say that it's over, but it was a major change for us to change the masking policy, and it's been well received, as you might imagine.
And as you can imagine, with the masks come off, there's respiratory illnesses and GI bugs and all the other things that we've missed for the past 2 years have resurfaced, but we've been testing, people have been testing and wearing masks if they're symptomatic. So there are times when people just optionally need to wear masks too.
So that's actually an interesting point, and in your experience, so if people are hermetically sealed and nothing is ever going to get to them, does that affect their immune system? It doesn't have the ability to fight things. I mean, do we think that could play a role of where we've been for 2 years, and now people's systems maybe haven't been as strong? I don't know. I'm
not sure if it's
asking.
as strong, but they haven't been exposed, right?
Yes.
We've had all the mitigation, so there wasn't that exposure, and now the exposure's there because
Yeah.
we're sitting here beside each other, and if Becky gets sick tomorrow, then I probably was exposed. So I think that we have the exposure now. It's not that those things weren't around last year. We were just keeping them to ourselves.
So
I
no
think we
no
have-
effect on the immune system that you know of for being, not having anything be able to get to you.
I mean, I don't know. I couldn't answer you by research-wise, but we will learn a lot in the next few years.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to learn. I think that we're seeing, our pediatrician offices are seeing normal strep cases, which they haven't seen. We're seeing some flu still, so just regular, lots of GI bugs going around, but just those regular things
Well,
that we
hopefully
see
the staff-
typically in a typical year.
Hopefully the staff is getting a bit of a break after 2 years of, constantly on call. So I know it's been a tough time for your industry, but the heroic efforts by those who are in the medical profession. So thank you.
Yes, it's a totally different atmosphere for the nurses, so it's, can focus on those normal things. They're excited to do screenings, which you'll never hear ever in another year. This will be the only year that people are like,
That's
yes,
funny.
let's do our scoliosis screenings.
Yeah.
So getting back to normal, which is nice.
Mhm.
Can I also ask, how the staff is doing, and if our absent rates decreased, or during the Omicron thing, staffing was a challenge, and I don't know if it's still remained the same, or?
If there's a major shift, I haven't noticed a major shift. Yeah, we saw a bit of an uptick during Omicron, but it wasn't as bad as we were really prepared for. We had really internally done some preparations in case we saw 10, 12, 15 people out, and that just didn't come to pass. And so I think we, in the same way that student absences are about what they would be at in March, I think that's probably where our staff absences are as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. That was pretty much the COVID update we've been waiting for. So. Next up is legislative update.
So just a quick update, we continue to advocate for circuit breaker reimbursement, making sure that is reimbursed at an appropriate level with the FY23 budget. Regional transportation reimbursement is another area we continue to advocate for the upcoming budget, and also through the budget process, Chapter 70 reimbursement. So the House Ways and Means has advocated that increasing the minimum local aid per student of $30 be increased to $100 as a result of inflationary impacts. So obviously we'll advocate for that. That would have an impact on in our overall regional budget moving forward. So those are the three updates that we continue to advocate for.
Okay. Should we be writing letters?
Yeah, so I have been looking for some model letters. There doesn't seem to be a real organization yet, but through MARS, Mass Association of Regional Schools, we've been advocating, and we could draft our own letter if that is the will of the committee. Be happy to do that.
I always like letters, but.
Yeah.
Sean?
I just have a question. I know MTA has been pushing recently this like early retirement bill, but I don't know if it's even gonna make it out of committee and if that would affect us at all.
No, I think that I haven't been following that. I know that there was a push for an early retirement incentive,
Yeah.
but it would have to be voted by the state and also approved by the local committees
That's what
to
I
make
thought.
sure
Okay.
that it is right for a committee. And I don't think I haven't heard much about it lately, and I think the window has passed.
Yeah. There was a flurry at the end of last week and I didn't know where that ended. Okay.
I can check in on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And next up is professional development overview.
So Dr. Reinhorn and the Professional Development Committee has been working hard on planning for Monday, March 21st, our District Professional Development Day, and she's going to provide a overview of what teachers will experience.
Very good.
So they're very quick slides if you want to even just turn, but I hate having you guys having to move, although it doesn't seem like it's coming up. Library TV?
Yeah.
Try one more time.
Kim, are you able to help project, perhaps?
That's what I was doing. I can do it without it as well.
Can you act it out?
I could sing it, and then really have some feelings about our PD plans, but. Can do charades.
Yeah.
Do you want me to?
To speak to it.
Yeah, it's fine, Kim. Thank you. First, I just want to thank the Professional Development Committee, which has representatives from each of the schools and the administrative team who have been working together to prepare for our District PD Day on March 21st. Since starting in the fall, it takes a lot of time. This Professional Development Day is a District Professional Development Day next Monday, so we work across all 10 schools to put this together. Also want to thank many of the educators who are offering sessions or leading sessions that are, well, I'll keep going. But so they are, in some cases, rather than engaging in learning, they're leading learning. And that's another really important piece of the day. So thank you to those folks. Our professional development offerings are all aligned to Vision 2026, our strategic plan, and our school improvement plans. And at our district professional development days, the way it's organized is that there is that alignment, but then within that, educators have choice, where they are looking at the offerings. In some cases, they're proposing offerings, and then saying what fits with the work of my school, with the work of my department, with what I'm focusing on personally, or in some cases might be PDPs, professional development points that they need for their own certification or things like that. The format is that we have two different types of offerings. We have workshops, where we have someone with some degree of expertise in that area who's leading a workshop for the day, or we have partnerships, which are collaborations among our educators where they have set a learning goal and outcomes that they want to accomplish as a group of educators collaborating together during that day. What I'd love to do is just share with you a few of the offerings just to give you a sampling of some of the types of things that are going on. In relation to empowering learners, which is one of our strategic objectives, there's an outside presenter from Novak Consulting who's going to be doing a workshop on universal design for learning. There's Julie Doyle, who's our Director of Digital Learning and Instructional Technology, I always mess up her title, is working together with someone from the Department of Education and doing work with educators on our digital literacy and computer science standards, and digging deeper into those. Another outside presenter, Dot Lucci, who has done a lot of consulting work with the district, is presenting on executive function skills, and that is focusing on secondary. So where Universal Design for Learning is a K through 12 offering, the executive functioning is a grade 5 through 12, so that we could really focus more, and actually it's mostly middle and high school teachers, focus more on that sort of developmental range. And one last example from empowering learners, our world language teachers are engaging grades 6 through 12 in digging deeper into the frameworks that came out during the pandemic, and looking at the implications for their courses and their program overall. In the area of equity of opportunity, the Anti-Defamation League, which has been working with us in our World of Difference program, which you've heard a little bit about, they offered a PD in the fall for all educators, and this is kind of the next level of work for those who are opting into it, the title is Transformative Approaches to Social and Racial Justice in Our Schools. There's a group of our own educators offering a workshop on Zaretta Hammond's Master Moves. A whole set of partnerships around continuing our work around windows and mirrors and analyzing our own units of studies and resources to see what windows and mirrors we're offering for our students. And that in the area of art is, we have an outside presenter working with all of our art teachers using ceramics and intersecting with honoring cultures. So that's, and mindfulness. There's like a few things going on there. There's work on IEPs and the writing of IEPs. There's workshops for our educational support professionals, our ESPs. And then there is a partnership about post-secondary pathways, which I think our own Karen Ayers is going to be helping with and working together with our guidance department. In the area of healthy and balanced learners, Dr. Chris Willard is going to be doing a workshop, and all of these are day-long opportunities, so people are choosing one thing and engaging in it for the day. And that is about mindful resilience and post-traumatic growth beyond the COVID crisis. So really digging into both the adult SEL and mindfulness and making connections for our students. We also have mental health first aid, which is happening, which Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services is providing, Mental Health 101. Our nurses are all gathering to talk about not COVID, and do other work that they need to do together. Occupational therapists are gathering and doing work together and aligning their practices. Our speech and language pathologists have a group that are coming together. We have a group that are looking at curriculum and instruction for students with severe special needs. And there are more. Wide variety of offerings, and people, selecting from those. And I'm happy to answer questions. Yes.
So who picks those? Meaning, do you pick them? And how are they paid for? Or some of them volunteers?
Great question. So part of the reason the process starts in the fall is because there's a lot of back and forth between the Professional Development Committee, and then we open up, and the way we did it this year is we provided some ideas based on the strategic plan of types of offerings that people might be interested in, and the central office and the teaching and learning team started to generate ideas that would align with our strategic plan. Then teachers and educators throughout the district could put in proposals. Then the Professional Development Committee and the administrative team review the proposals, and then they go back out and with accepting, and in some cases, and we give feedback on the proposals, and in some cases, ask for some adjustments. And then the outside presenters, sometimes are recommended by a specific department, like the art department came to us and said, we have this person, they bring us their bio, the sort of agenda of what they're planning to do. In other cases, it came more from central office where we said, Anti-Defamation League, we've been working with them, and we went to them and said, what would be a possibility of the next level of learning? And then, like Rhoda Webb worked together with them. So it's a variety of different things going on at once, and it's a representative group in the Professional Development Committee that's helping to review the proposals.
Okay, and then there's a certain amount of money allotted each year for this that you can spend?
Yes, and this year that is generally all coming out of grants. So there are a few of the items that are outside presenters that are actually from being paid for from the ESSER grants in relation to social emotional learning, which is from ESSER 2. And I think the
executive functioning is in ESSER 3.
ESSER 3, so the executive functioning is from ESSER 3, and then some of them are from Title 2 and from Title 4 grants. And that's money that we set aside, a sort of amount of money, and then we look at the different options and work within that budget.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
What happens after this day? I mean, you have a whole bunch of topics here, but everybody can only go to one.
Yep.
So, I mean, it seems like you could run this whole program for a week and you still can't go to probably half of what you might want to, so.
Yeah, it's great.
What happens like
question.
after the 21st to all these ideas?
So, one thing is that we have developed a feedback form so that we can hear from people that everyone will fill out at the end of the day to, first of all, get feedback on what they experienced, feedback on the offerings that they had, and feedback on what they would like to engage in the future. Some of these things are topics that we then, like executive functioning is one that is, and universal design for learning are related to bigger topics in our strategic plan, where we are always thinking about what's the long game and the pathway, and this is a first experience, but who else is going to need this type of learning, and how are we going to do that? So that's kind of an ongoing conversation of, does it become part of school-based professional development in the future? It varies from topic to topic, kind of where that goes, but
Okay.
it's definitely part of the conversation.
Great. Anything else? All right, thank you, Stephanie, appreciate that. Next is approval of donation, I think.
Yes, so we learned, I believe, last week that the Northborough-Southborough Regional School District was awarded a grant from the School Nutrition Equipment Assistance Program. Diane Kofer, who is the food services manager, wrote the grant in October and secured for the district $5,047. And that specifically is to replace equipment in the kitchen. And as you can imagine, there are many expensive pieces of equipment in our cafeteria. And we also just learned this week that the regional school district also secured a $20,000 equipment grant as well. So significant amount of money, and just want to compliment Diane Kofer for pursuing this and securing the funds. It's greatly appreciated and needed.
Okay, so for tonight, it's 5,047 for,
Yeah, I wanted to say the 20,000 for April.
We found out yesterday, I think.
Yeah. I have a question. In terms of the equipment, is there equipment to wash all of the trays, which had been an issue pre-COVID?
Yes, so there is equipment to wash the trays, and we are getting back to thinking about when is the right time to actually implement that. The prices of commodities and trays and so forth has been outrageous, so we need to get back to that as soon as possible, because we can't afford to buy trays and, and
Can't afford to,
paper cups.
To
It's
landfill
really
them.
expensive or for the environment, so yes, we are getting back to that.
it's good news, thank you.
okay, so I guess we need a motion to approve a grant from the School Nutrition Equipment Assistant Program in the amount of $5,047 to fund a double-door freezer, I believe.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dan, seconded by Karen. Any more questions? All in favor? That is unanimous. And next up is the school choice discussion.
So this evening, I thought I would present information around school choice. It's the annual presentation. My thinking is that tonight I'll present the information. Next meeting, we'll discuss, and then the committee will have to vote whether it wants to opt out of school choice by June 1st. So at the May meeting, actually take a vote. So for all intents and purposes, this presentation is just informational.
Okay.
So school choice has been in place in the Commonwealth for several decades, since 1991, and it's governed by Mass General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12B, and again allows a parent or guardian to enroll his or her child in a school district other than the district in which the child lives. And then with Ed reform in 1993, the law was amended, and school districts in Massachusetts are presumed to participate in and to admit non-resident students through school choice unless districts choose and vote to opt out of the school choice program. So again, a receiving district can withdraw from school choice only if a school committee holds a public hearing on this issue and then votes to withdraw. And that needs to take place before June 1st. The school choice tuition has not changed from prior years. It is $5,000 for a regular education student and $7,500 for a student who receives special education services. And just as a comparison, the per pupil expenditure for the Northborough-Southborough Regional School District for FY20 was $17,902. School committees can specify the schools. Obviously, Algonquin, there's one school, but the grade level. So if we had declining enrollment in a specific grade level, we could open seats in that specific grade level. And then, obviously we cannot discriminate. So non-discrimination policy exists when we're thinking about accepting students. And basically, if there are more students who apply for the seats that we've opened, then it is by lottery. And again, I think the advantages of being a school choice district is that a district does receive $5,000 per pupil. It is a means for many school systems to generate revenue. It allows for districts to accommodate declining enrollment. And it's also year-to-year decision, so any one decision the regional school committee would make is a 4-year decision versus a pre-K through 12 system where it could be potentially a 12-year decision. The disadvantages are the FY20 20 per pupil expenditure is far greater than the dollars we receive in terms of school choice students. Acceptance is by lottery, which means that again we can't, depending on the student need, the expense to educate the child could be significant. Once a child is accepted, the district is responsible for educating that child through grade 12 or age 22, depending on the needs of that child. And then, again, potential for a student to require significant resources. In districts who have entered into school choice agreements, it's difficult to exit because they rely on that revenue. So that is the annual presentation. My recommendation stands in terms of, I think at this current time it does not make sense to not opt out of school choice, so not elect to have school choice. I know it's a negative, but again, I'm sure the committee can discuss the pros and cons at its April meeting to think about what it would like to do moving forward.
Okay. Dan?
So when do you think would be a good time? Like, what would you want to see? And then you would say, yes, it is a good time.
I think the purpose of accepting school choice and how we're using the financial resources that the district is gaining from having school choice. For example, OPEB. So if you create funding mechanism for OPEB through accepting school choice students, then that is something I think that the school committee should entertain, because at any point in time, you're not relying on that revenue stream for the operational budget to sustain. So I think that is one good example. And then I think having conversations with Principal Bevan, looking at managing and maintaining a student body, the student enrollment. And I think we're getting there. I would expect in FY24 and FY25, when we anticipate declining enrollment, it might be a time for the committee to consider it. But those are two examples when I would start to consider.
Okay. Follow up if I may. Other schools or other districts that do participate in school choice, are you aware of some? And then are there ones that say accept 1, 2, or 3, or ones that accept 100?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are districts that are very targeted. They'll open up 3 seats in first grade, 5 seats in second grade. There are other districts who have no other means of generating revenue but to open up to school choice, and they accept hundreds of kids, and it's just their economic context that requires them to do that. Surrounding districts in our area, the Westboroughs, the Shrewsburys, they have not opened up school choice. They have not taken in school choice students at this point. I know Berlin-Boylston has, and maybe Chris, you can speak to your experience.
No, my experience with school choice is we have a targeted kind of approach, which is they might open up 3 seats, like you said, in the freshman class and 5 seats in the sophomore class. I think the bigger issue that district is dealing with at the moment is it has become part of the operational budget, and there is a line item in their budget that is getting lower and lower and lower over time, even though we still have school choice students. The population of the school is growing, so the number of available seats is declining, but that operational deficit is still in the budget. So there's going to become a time where that line that has money in it from school choice isn't going to be there to fund the actual operation of the school, and it's going to have to come out of the tax base for the community, or there's going to be some very difficult decisions that have to be made. So I can tell you that it's something that I think I heard at the last school committee, at Berlin-Boylston School Committee, was that they're trying to figure out how they are going to accommodate even more students from the communities due to the amount of building that's going on. And they know that's going to reduce school choice income, which is a huge source of revenue for the district. But to Superintendent Martineau's point, the per pupil expenditure cost, I think at that district is somewhere around $16,000. So you're getting $5,000 for a student that you're spending $16,000 to educate.
Okay, and I guess last question then, if we were to accept, I think it'd be odd to accept 1, but 3. So if we were to accept a very small number and we participate in the program, do you think that if we did 3 students, would that be a significant financial impact on the budget?
No, I think it would. Again, I think we'd have to be I would recommend the committee being very specific around how that money would be used and to benefit a program, or to benefit an unfunded liability like OPEB, or to think about creating a capital reserve. So I think if we have specific purposes for collecting that money and using it, that doesn't, again, create an operational deficit when we can't accept students in the future. My thinking is, I need to have more conversations with Principal Bevan around what it would look like, what impact it would have on the student body. I don't think it would make a significant impact on our overall operational budget.
And to the OPEB question, because I know that we're inadequate, at least we're starting.
Yeah.
So I mean, anyway, for next month, I would love to have that discussion of what, for instance, 3, and then this is all in deference to Mr. Budka, who's not here today as well, and he may have asked some of these questions, but what would 3 do, and where could we direct that, OPEB or otherwise, and then we have a practice of a limited number, but it goes to a certain fund each time.
Kathleen?
I think that to look at the difference between the reimbursement at 5K for a typical child, it's alarming for 7.5K for a child with special needs, because that is so quickly blown through the water. I think that's where it gets very, I could see get very, very, very expensive depending on who comes, and we are obliged to welcome them and provide all those needs, but I know the transportation alone can blow through that budget in a heartbeat.
That was a question I was gonna ask. If does circuit breaker apply to schools choice students, so money that we might apply for?
Yeah,
And
so,
maybe this is getting into next month's discussion, right?
yes, I mean, I think if a student required, school choice student required out of district placement, if we weren't able to meet the needs here in district, then there's a whole nother mechanism in which the district, the sending district would have to participate in the funding.
Yeah.
Principal Bevan, I guess if, to kind of piggyback on Dan's point a little bit, I would be interested in knowing, and this goes along with information that's already available, but if our class sizes could any classes that could accommodate additional students. So I know, for example, there's a certain number of students in a particular class. You know, if we're generally over the desired number of students, then I would not, you know, I think school choice would be something that shouldn't be entertained, period. And I can tell you that I would only be interested in entertaining it if we have classes that have empty seats. That's generally how a lot of districts do it, is if you have a class where you have to have a teacher there anyway, and the seat is empty, then you could fill that seat. But again, I would definitely caution the use of that as part of an operational budget, for sure.
Great point.
Yeah, I think that's a lot easier to do in grade 4, say, than in a high school where you don't know what the kid's gonna wanna take. I mean, we got AP classes that, you know, you can't get into. Well, I'm not sure that we do have that, but, you know, say we do. You know, it's a can of worms, I think. Anything else? Okay, we're looking forward to next month on that. And that brings us to the superintendent's report to the committee.
And at this point, I will turn it over to Principal Bevan for his principal's report.
Sure. Are we able to, Joan, is the Apple TV working?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And
And is it library? Okay. Show me, and then I'll sit back. I'll just present. So as we are getting set up, I can just go through just a few updates that are, and we get to the photographs, that's fine. We had our spring or winter play, which was Radium Girls. I don't know if anybody was able to attend it. That happened on March 3rd and 4th, and then our students and staff presented at the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild Festival, which was hosted here, where we brought in 4 or 5 other schools and presented abbreviated forms of the play, of each play for each school, and those were big successes. In addition to just highlighting the wonderful work of those students and that staff member, Mr. Kelly, it's worth noting that that play was written by a female and had a female lead. And in looking back at some of the plays that make it into the top 10 in U.S. High schools, that is kind of unusual. So 10 years ago, none of the plays were written by a female, and none of the plays featured even a female lead. 5 years later, only one play had a female lead, and none were written by a female playwright. And Radium Girls was had both of those features. It's the only one in the top 10 of American plays that has done that. And I think it's evidence that here at the school we're really embracing representation as a core focus of this year and going forward. It's important that all of our students see themselves in the art they create and the work they consume. So that's one piece. So thank you, John.
I think it's just, you have the same thing,
I
right?
do.
All right.
I like that last statement.
Now we're cooking. Great, thank you very much. All right. And this, just to show you, this is our student, our cast, of course. And even the clock in the background was created by 2 of our students, and one of our female students who was really, I think, the driving force behind that, which is a major part of the show. And she's one of our robotics students. So they did a wonderful job, and the play really was quite terrific. Additionally, and we've already covered this, we've had a smooth transition to optional masking.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, I'm not going to touch it. All right. And no incidents that I am aware of. So I put that photo on there because we have students, and those young women would have 3 weeks ago been playing ice hockey with masks and being here in school in masks. And here you can see their smiling faces, which was a really lovely moment. That was from over the weekend. And those, of course, are members of our ice hockey team who made it into the state semifinalists. They are playing at the TD Garden this weekend. They're playing Canton High School, and they for the state championship, Division II state championship. And worth noting, the team is a co-op, so that means that we are a combination of, even though we are Algonquin, the Algonquin Titans here, they are comprised of 8 of our students, 4 students from Hudson, 1 from Marlborough, 2 from Neshoba, and 1 from Clinton. So it's a really wonderful team who's performed really well, and we're excited to see them play at 1 o'clock at the Garden this weekend. Okay. And our next update, I'm going to bring up Kim Honey is our wonderful librarian, and Joan Amberson, who just helped me with our tech, is another wonderful asset here. And I think maybe our most popular staff member is also here. This is Parker, who is our therapy dog. Easily the most popular member of our staff. He's over here behind you. And
Very
so
loved.
I will leave it to you if you want to just kind of advance your slides. And then it's all yours.
Yeah, Parker arrived right before school shut down in COVID, so this is his 3rd anniversary. It's our COVID pooch. So when students come to the library on their own, our goal is to provide them with a space in which they can set their own agenda. They're given the latitude to work, to relax, or to socialize. And in addition to providing that space for academic work, Mrs. Amberson, Ms. Pereira, and myself are really working to develop relationships with these students that last their whole time here in Algonquin. And therefore, hopefully opening the doors to the library so they feel comfortable with another adult touch point in the building if they can't get to somebody else. So we try and create a very flexible space here. COVID certainly had a huge impact on our programming and use. But now that mandates have been lifted, we're excited to see that the library is being used more often and at a higher capacity. We look forward to hosting a wide variety of more events, exhibits, and classes in the very near future. So before COVID struck, the library probably saw 100 students every morning. We certainly have not hit that yet, but now that the mandates have been lifted, we see the number of students arriving here in the morning gradually growing, and we're up to about half that capacity. And so as things return to these normal rhythms, we're hoping to offer Tuesday trivia again and some other activities that we've had in the past. So student collaboration, of course, is a dynamic aspect of learning, and the library provides the space for this to occur. Through teacher collaboration and organization, students have the opportunity to work across classes, but in the same subject area. So we might have a group of history or English classes down here. And since they're working with kids from different classes, they get a different perspective, and it brings a great new dimension to the work that they're doing. They, of course, come down here hopefully to find answers to problems that they're trying to solve in different classes. And of course, they utilize many of the print and online resources to complete research. And these topics we've seen from weather to disease to, causes of conflict and literary analysis. And then they have the opportunity to take this research and turn it into a shared format that allows them to reach a larger audience. And by having this information go beyond that teacher-student exchange, students get to work on their publication skills, so they can consider their format, their audience, and their platform. And of course, we are constantly and consistently evaluating the collection to ensure that it supports curriculum, as well as provides a wide variety of books for students to enjoy on their own time and for their own enjoyment. And of course, we have Parker, who is most visited, and students make a part of their routine. Some kids, they fly in the same time every day, they fly in multiple times a day, and it's usually a quick pat on the head and then out the door. But they all are consistently reporting that he lifts their mood, so thanks to Joanne for training him and bringing him to us. And then, of course, collaboration with teachers throughout the building provides a unique opportunity for us to highlight various sections of the collection, and sometimes a very creative format. So when we did tic-tac-toe, students were able to see a variety of books that they could select for their independent reading. In chemistry, we worked with heroes or villains, so they had to do a small research project and then create playing cards where their element a hero or a villain. Developing general lessons, so this one, on the power of the index, so telling the kids, that's where you can find out where everything shows up in the book, not just through the table of contents. Working with teachers we have these wonderful breakout boxes, so we created some escape rooms that they had to work with the text to get clues, to solve the problems as a team to break out. This week is Math Week, so we just had Pi Day, and not this year, but last year we had some coding activities here in the library. They worked on tanagrams. They were able to do a lot of math-focused activities. And of course, working on very specific research projects with teachers to fulfill a very specific curriculum goal. And when I was working with the Northborough Historical Society, I came across the original library statistics from when Algonquin was opened in 1959. So thanks to the wonderful support of the community, our collection has grown at a great rate, and we are very lucky to have a wide variety of resources available for our students here at Algonquin. Space utilization, we aren't where we have been in the past, but we're getting there. We are now at full capacity. At the beginning of the year, of course, we were only at half capacity. But as of today, we've had 340 classes come into the space to use this main room as well as the side classrooms. 140 in our computer lab, and 108 different meetings throughout the year. So we're lucky, in addition to this main space, we have two classrooms, a computer lab, a faculty workspace, as well as a podcast space that is now housing the radio station as well. Okay, so 26,000 students have come to use this space. So we are excited that as we are returning to normal, that these numbers are increasing and more students are finding their way here. And then, of course, we're hoping that we will return to where we used to be, right? So inviting or hosting international speakers. We are hosting virtually again this year, but last few years we've had them in from different parts of the world. Of course, more frequent visits from the nursery school, after school, big group events that are, student driven. Before school activities, we're waiting for Tuesday trivia. Big group from the freshmen more frequently, and just groups of kids getting together and hanging out. And then, of course, more time with Parker. So we're very excited by the idea that kids will be able to display more work as it's produced, and of course, more collaboration. So our goals here, of course, is to support all aspects of the curriculum here at Algonquin and make sure that we have appropriate resources to help close the achievement gap. So as more need for specific books to utilize what we have here, as well as the BARD system, SORA, and other state-sponsored programs. To help encourage reading stamina, which is directly correlates to academic achievement. So the more kids like to read, the easier it is for them to tackle very difficult and more complex reading as they go on. Embrace, we're in the process of really going through our curriculum and making sure it's reflective of our students who are here. So to make sure that they see themselves in the collection, but also they have the ability to read other people's experiences. And of course, continue our programming that's engaging, inclusive, and expand research activities that really embed into our curriculum instead of being a side part, so that kids can really see the connection between what's going on in the classroom and the need and the importance of doing well-vetted research. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Always a
Yeah,
good
sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, that was great. It's certainly you're using the library for all sorts of enhancement of the school curriculum, and so I'm also wondering, libraries have also really been coming in far as maker spaces and spaces to support social emotional learning, as far as creating and like puzzles and coloring and crafts. And so do you do anything like that, and do you have spaces for those?
Well, we have in the past, before couldn't really share, we did have a whole section that kids could play chess, and we have these sticker puzzles and coloring. So we do make all that available, and the hope is, as things loosen up again, we will bring that all back.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So.
Thank you.
So I had a question about, what time does the library close in the afternoon?
It closes at 3.
Is there any way to extend that? And the reason I ask is, like, sometimes kids have to hang around for sports or something till, say, 4. It'd be nice if they could come in here and study.
Well, 2 things. Of course it could happen, but it's a staffing issue because we're down to 2.5 people. But we have found with the change in the extension of the hours, the amount of kids who are in the library after school, because the time frame between the end of school and sports is a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm. Sean, maybe that's something to look at. I don't know how much of an issue it still is, but like I said, it would just be nice if they could come in here if they have some time.
We did it in the past. We were open till 5, and I would be here with one student till 5 o'clock.
Really?
It's not, I
Can't do
mean,
that.
I still have all the statistics from when we did it. Max, we had 3 or 4 students. So,
Okay then. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, thank you very much. Thank you, Joanne, and thank you, Parker.
you're welcome.
And next up, I have Lisa Connery is our wonderful department head of the guidance department, and she is going to provide an overview of our college and career readiness. Lisa.
So thank you. Sean asked me to join you tonight. I think there's been some conversations about the Career Center as well as internship opportunities, and I thought before I shared information about those specific questions that I might just give a quick little overview of what the College and Career Readiness program looks like, in the guidance department. So of course, we too have goals like Kim to ensure that all students have high quality pathways to those educational and career opportunities. It's a huge focus for us. We go about accomplishing that by providing tiered supports. So we kind of have those universal supports, the information that we feel that every student should have access to and be aware of. And we go about providing those supports through our guidance seminars. Every student is introduced to the same information in our seminars, as well as our post-secondary fair and our career days. And then we have more targeted supports in our individual work with students in developing their post-secondary plan, as well as the possibility of talking about internships and job shadowing opportunities for students. Now, of course, we too were hit by COVID, and a lot of those opportunities haven't been available for the past couple of years, but we are really hoping to go back to where we were and start increasing those opportunities, because we had started really making a lot of very good strides in the opportunities we were providing. So the guidance seminars and the individual work is done by the guidance counselors. And so our focus each year is a little different. So for grade 9 right now, we are really focusing on transition, as well as some of the social emotional learning topics, self-awareness, growth mindset, helping students to understand how their mindset can impact their overall success. We talk about grit. We start introducing them to SMART goals, and we actually show them how to develop a SMART goal, and we have them develop an academic and a personal goal. These are new topics that we started when COVID hit and we started doing a lot of remote presentations. We also spend time talking with them about their 4-year plan as part of the course selection process. In grade 10, we shift our focus towards career exploration, and we utilize our Naviance College and Career Readiness program. We're currently working right now with our sophomores, and we're having them do the career assessments. So there's 3 different assessments that we have them take. One is the personality, which is based off the Myers-Briggs, helping them to gain a better understanding of themselves and their preferences. The career interest profiler, which is the Holland Code, and career clusters. So we really want students to start to gain a better understanding of their preferences, their interest, and how those 2 things come together and connect from a career or a major perspective. We have the kids do a deep dive in researching a particular career that they might be interested in, so that we know they know how to research a career. And a lot of the information that is in the program is also data driven by the Bureau of Labor around employment stats and everything. So there's a wealth of information in there, and so we guide the students through how to access that so that they can also do some of that independent work. We then work on resumes and interviews, again, long-term planning around course selections and how that might connect to a potential career or major, and forward thinking for not just the next year, but maybe the next 2 years or the next 3 years.
In grade 11, we start really focusing on researching and information gathering around opportunities for individual students. Now, a lot of our students go off to 2- and 4-year schools, but we have plenty of students who, go off to the military or work or, the trades. And so our focus is really helping them to research the information relative to whatever program they're interested in, whether that's through Naviance or through the websites. Through a college website, how do I navigate that website to find the information pertinent to what I would like to do? In grade 12, I'm summarizing months worth of work here and years worth of work in about 2 minutes. In grade 12, we like to call it the nuts and bolts of applying. Sounds kind of simple, takes an entire semester to move the kids through it. But it's really about, pulling everything together and applying to whatever the targeted program is for an individual student, and guiding parents and students towards resources related to financial aid and scholarships. And there's a lot of work that's done around decision making for students, whether it's data driven or personal preferences, whatever that might be. So that's a lot of the work that the counselors do. They do that work in, like I said, in the guidance seminars and then in their individual work. So the next work is really the work that has been occurring in the Career Center. And so we offer, through the Career Center, a post-secondary fair. And so annually, this last year, we only had like 90 organizations join us, but typically we usually have about 120, 125 colleges, vocational programs, the military comes, we have gap year programs that join us, and we open it up to all of our students and parents to come. They have the opportunity to meet with the representatives and gather information. In addition to this, we offer over 100 visits, small group visits during the school day from various, again, the same organizations that come in. It's a great opportunity for our students to be able to ask questions and just learn more about the program that they might be interested in. One thing that we had started a couple years before COVID hit, and then we had to pause on it. In the past, we were doing what we called career cafes, and we would invite a speaker in, and we might have 10 or 15 students, come down and listen to that speaker. And I kept saying to the other, counselors, like, this isn't enough. Like, we're not hitting a big enough group, a large enough group here. And I finally was able to get one of our department heads, convince one of our department heads to partner with us and do a career day. And we outreached and got a bunch of community members to come in, and they went into the classroom and they spent the entire day in the classroom. So as students rotated into that class, the career speakers were there. So every student had an opportunity to hear from at least one career speaker that day. It went so well that that department head went to the other department heads and said, that went really well, you guys should try it. And so it grew from there, where we agreed to do every other year. 4 departments each year will host the career day. And so we were at the point where we were having over 90 career speakers in right before COVID hit, and they would come into the department. So if you're a student, it might be math, English, health and fitness, and applied arts. And at your students in like math and English, which most of our students are, those core classes, they got exposed to the career speaker in that room. And it ended up working out very, very well. And I think really we wanted students to learn about specific careers in that content area, but more importantly, we really wanted them to hear people's story and understand that their education is a foundation in which they're going to build on, and they're going to continue to build on for many years. And so the kids really enjoyed hearing the stories. So we did a lot of community outreach with the career days. When we started to do the community outreach, I was thinking about next steps. What's our next step? So now we have our career day in place. And I said, it'd be great if we could get some internships, maybe some shadow opportunities. Maybe there'd be people who would just want to do interviews with students to talk about their work.
And so as part of the form that we started sending out to the community members, we started also including that. Would you like to be would you like to be a speaker at our career day, and here's the date. If you can't make it on that day, or would you like to participate in any of these other activities? So we really started to build our career resource directory, and COVID hit. And so we're really looking forward to getting this up and started. And so we started to have a bunch of our students actually, participating in internships. And these are some of the different organizations who were offering opportunities to our students. It's only a few. There were others, but they had some great opportunities, whether they were working with, the Oasis Wealth Advisors or Central One, Chick-fil-A. Flaherty PT was great with some of our kids who were interested in the health sciences. Worcester County DA, our own town offices had a few interns that came in as well. So we really are looking forward to continuing that outreach and that work to try to provide those opportunities for our students. So I know one of the things, I think, Sean, that has been kind of a topic of conversation, that's just a quick little overview of guidance. And then we'll kind of shift to a couple things that I think were of interest. And I think one of them is early college opportunities. And there's been questions about dual enrollment. And so, as I've shared with Sean, our students, can participate in dual enrollment programs, whether it's at, Quincy, Mass Bay, or Framingham State. We do have 1 or 2 students, maybe a year, who participate. I think oftentimes what we find is that for our students, they're so involved in our school that sometimes the schedules don't align. So the schedule at the college doesn't necessarily align with our schedule, or there's transportation issues if a student can't get to and from the campus. Maybe there's courses they really want to take here as well that they've been waiting to take all along. And then it's our extracurricular offerings. So students want to be back on the campus and participating in athletics. But if we have a student who is interested in dual enrollment and they're asking about it, we readily share the information with them, guide them through the process of applying, to the program, making sure that the courses they're taking fulfill graduation requirements and that they're on target. And we've had some students who, have kind of maxed out our math curriculum. And I think that might be where some of this kind of initiated from. And so in the past, we've had students who enrolled in, I guess you could call it dual enrollment online Calc 3 classes to continue their math enrichment, here at Algonquin. So, and I know we've had some conversations about the Commonwealth.
Yeah, and I spoke with, our student council has approached me to ask us about enrolling in the DESE's CDEP program, which is the Commonwealth Dual Enrollment Program. And I've been in contact with DESE about that. At this time, it just doesn't seem like a good fit for us, and nor do I think we would really even be eligible to establish that kind of partnership, because those programs are really targeted at communities where students don't have the kind of access to high quality kind of high school classes, not to high quality AP courses that might give them a leg up going into college. And dual CDEP is a program that does allow students to start to achieve perhaps halfway progress to an associate's degree before they leave high school, and usually it's with an area community college. So we are continuing to explore that. Right now, DESE has advised me that we're probably not a real good fit for that, especially if the interest that our student council members are seeking to explore is really more for this very highest level math achievers who have maxed out all of our math offerings to then take some college courses, which we would do asynchronously online.
Right. Okay. So we are continuing conversations to see if there's any, alternative options for those students as well. At this time, we just don't have any more information to share, but we are asking some questions to kind of look at it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so can I just ask a
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Yes.
So, I guess what I was also interested in is, so you have this really bustling, amazing DECA business pathway, right? And so you have this program with a memorandum of understanding with Nichols College where kids can get these credits. Well, there are also other programs, for example, in a just an English pathway where kids can take, instead of AP English, and it doesn't have to be these kids who are maxing things out. It can be just, you know, students who aren't sure what they want to do, and instead of in their English 12 class can be a college level class without having it be AP. If it was an MOU with QCC or Framingham State, and those kinds of things, without having it to be this amazingly, you know, hard, maxed out all the curriculum. It's something that everyone can take, so that English 12, everyone's getting, most of the kids can get 3 credits. And things like that, you know? That's more of a standard, or, and we don't have to be, I understand like the dual enrollment part, that is specifically for kids who might be first-generation college students and struggling to go to college and things like that. But those types of programs where we're expanding into our other sources of curriculum, like science, instead of just the business pathway. Like, what else are we doing in those specific curriculum areas is what I'm kind of asking about.
Sean and I were actually just talking about that exact thing, where I was saying, you know, we probably could explore that further, because I know that our business department does offer through Nichols College the accounting, and they did the MOA with Nichols College for accounting. And so I had said to Sean, I said, you know, this might be like a pathway for us, whether it's they're doing the accounting class, but maybe, you know, Lori Zanini and her department are doing biotech or innovations, or maybe there's other ways that we could go about, you know, students earning credits. You know, we need the opportunity to kind of look at that, and what do those, you know, look like, and who can we do those MOAs with.
Uxbridge High School is a phenomenal program with all of that, and and also, you know, and I know I'm just gonna let you finish. It's but those are the types of more of like these other opportunities. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they're going off campus. Our teachers are adjunct teachers that have gotten accepted by these other colleges and are teaching those classes for credit as a regular part of their high school day.
So we're talking about that, and you can see under our future goals, it says colors, you know, like a college partnership. And so, you know, we were talking exactly about that. Some of the wonderful courses that we have, that we offer here, where students could potentially earn credit for it. And so I think that's an area of interest for us, and now we need to start exploring that. But we also need to explore that in conjunction with the other department heads. You know what I mean? So like, that we would have to involve them in that conversation as well.
Absolutely.
But it's something that Sean and I talked about.
When I met with students who had brought forward this as a proposal and are really interested in it, some of their interests are like niche courses that we don't have enough enrollment for. Let's say like Greek, we don't offer Greek, and so, you know, you might have an opportunity to link a kid into, you know, an area community college or some type of, you know, an online experience that then we arrange for them. We help them, you know, we manage the expenses for, and then give them some support for. So something like art history, you know, there are lots of different things that we might not be able to enroll the whole class on, or we don't have anybody certified to teach it here. But looking at what's available out there in the, you know, locally, physically, and geographically, but also online, it gives you a lot more options than ever.
So these are
So we were just kind of put up here what some of our goals were around our college and career readiness. And, you know, again, coming back to reestablishing the work around those career days, the importance of them, that resource, the career resource directory, moving back to our work with the Corridor 9 partnership, right? And we really want to work hard to expand our internship opportunities. And I know there's been a lot of talk about, you know, students going out for internship opportunities, you know, maybe participating in an internship program where students are out towards the end of their senior year. I think one of the first steps that we really need to take is to build, you know, the internship opportunities that we have. So we have a foundation on which to begin to offer students those opportunities, and then we can continue to build on the program. Some of the, one of the things that we did do when we were looking at all this, we actually visited Natick High School a few years ago, before Sean was here, and looked at their internship, you know, program and gathered a bunch of information about it. And again, we had a change in administration, and then COVID hit, and so it kind of has been sitting there in the wings waiting. But we did go visit them and gather all of the information to see how they were doing things, pros and cons, what they liked, what they didn't like. In addition to that, because I mean, I really like our Career Resource Center, and I wanted it to make it more robust than it was, we went to Northeastern University and visited their Career Center to kind of see the work that they were doing with students, and to get feedback from them on what they thought that we could do to better prepare our kids when they leave Algonquin. So some of the things that they actually shared with us, I thought was very interesting that we want to start to put in place. And that when we think about just our seminar offerings, one of the things they said that they really see in students is their professional communications, like they need some help around their communication skills, and whether it's verbal, nonverbal, and written communication skills, as well as networking, understanding the importance of it, you know, and developing those skills. And another thing they said they thought would be very beneficial to introduce our kids to is, you know, LinkedIn, and you know how that is utilized in the networking process, in the career search process. And we were even thinking that we wouldn't mind having a LinkedIn and Algonquin Guidance LinkedIn, because one of the biggest questions that we have is how do we connect with our alum? And so we thought that might be a great opportunity for us to be able to communicate with our alum, maybe even get some of our younger alum to come back and participate in our career day, or to do, you know, offering internships, whatever it is that we're looking for. So we'd like to look at that for ourselves and, you know, try to develop that alumni network. An interesting program that they had at Northeastern was the Career Fellows. They actually trained students on how to work with students, whether it was developing a resume and giving feedback on a resume, whether for us it might be work on the Common App or an application. It might be, they were doing resume stuff, they were doing mock interviews with students and giving them feedback. And I thought, wow, that's fascinating. It's kind of similar to the Algonquin Writing Center and the work that our students are doing in there with one another. So we have a bunch of information on that as well, and the training and the development of that. And again, continuing to look at those partnerships that we can create for our kids to provide those opportunities for those higher level courses and college credit. So those are all the things that we have information on, and then we kind of do an about face with COVID. So.
Paul, man.
Yep.
So, great presentation. I really like the inclusion of LinkedIn. I think that's a great opportunity for students. The number of students that have sent me a LinkedIn request is interesting, and I know them at least. So,
yeah.
But it's cool to see, you know, their face, and you know that they have a profile, and that they're starting to expand that network. And so I think that's a wonderful thing you're doing.
Right.
It'd be great to, you know, when you have that discussion about LinkedIn and social media, the pitfalls that social media can have with your, you know, if you want to get into a college, you want to get into a certain career, there are schools, there are employers that actively look into social media, and if what you put out there is not what you want seen by your parent, by you know, a school or a you know, a company, tell them.
We usually use your grandmother.
Yeah,
if you don't want your grandmother to see it, then you
right.
probably don't want to post
so,
it.
Anyway, hopefully that discussion, you know, goes along with the,
right, it does.
you know, the value of something like a LinkedIn. So anyway, well done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks
Yeah,
again.
thank you, Lisa. Great job.
Thank you.
It's a question I think.
Yeah, I have one more question. So the Career Center, exactly, all these things are going on in the Career Center? How do kids know what's going on in the Career Center?
So we communicate with them on what's going on in the Career Center. So we utilize.
So like if you have college
Novice.
visit, people coming in, then they would know to go down there and visit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we utilize Naviance, and the visits are all set up, and so we show the students how to sign up for the visits. Of course, they have to get permission, so if they have an assessment, like, they can't leave class, you know what I mean? But we'll gather information for them and let the counselor know that they were gonna come down. But the whole system sends them reminders. It's once they register, it kicks them reminders and everything, so we have a lot of kids that come down to visit. We open it to juniors and seniors. We limit the juniors, and it's wide open to the seniors.
And the physical location where the CRC is, when those happen, they're very noticeable. It's kind of a fishbowl if you're familiar with
I'll
where
get
it
to
is.
see it Monday.
And so, yeah, so you'll see it, and people notice when 2 Marines are in there
Oh,
and
cool.
talking through, or and now that we're in person with those meetings, it's been really a nice change and a noticeable one for kids who may have, if you're a sophomore, you've not seen that before. So that's
Yes.
I just wanted to commend you for, I always find this exciting, and I think you're a wonderful leader. And the conversation of grit and growth mindset in freshmen is very progressive. I really admire you for that. So thank you for that, yeah.
The way you laid that out, it's a 4-year.
It's 4
Call.
years.
You
It
know,
is a
I mean,
lot.
it's-
It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of deadlines, and
Yes.
and I appreciate that. I kind of would like to echo what Dan was saying about the LinkedIn, and when you had resume up there, I think it's more of a broad sense, because I haven't seen a resume in many years, paper resume,
Right.
and I think kids, more offerings about seminars would be great about their digital presence, because I don't really think they do understand how that impacts, and it all connects, whether it's college or jobs or whatever. It's such an important piece, and because I don't think students know how to call up people, they text or email or shoot a LinkedIn to somebody hoping they're going to respond. So it's a
Goes back to the
expanding all of those.
communication
Yeah.
part, huh?
Yeah, all of those are really important. And lastly, I think building the people involved in internships is a great, goal to have. I think the more, it doesn't even have to be during the day. My son did one after school
Right.
and changed his mind about, no, it's not environmental science for me.
Yes.
Because you see those things, talk to people during school, but when you experience it, it's a different offering. So I think building up that, and you've been hampered the last 2 years, so.
And I think even summer opportunities are
Mhm.
nice, and,
Yep.
we do share with the students repeatedly, like, your social media presence is important. We even share with them stories that we've heard from
Mhm.
college admissions counselors around
Yep.
things that they've seen and how they've rescinded admissions offers to students based on their presence on social media and the concern they might have. So we do share that with them, so.
So thank you for your presentation
You're welcome.
and your leadership. And I just want to thank you and the guidance team and Algonquin for kind of weathering the past 2 years. Everything that you do has been reimagined.
Great.
And I think one of the positive outcomes of what we've experienced over the past couple of years is that colleges have reimagined how they provide their product to the world.
Correct.
So I think there are many opportunities that we can capitalize on moving forward. And I also think that declining enrollment in colleges is something we can capitalize on.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I'll just comment on the fact that geographically we are located in a wonderful location in central Massachusetts with a lot of high-tech, biotech opportunities. And not only have the colleges reimagined kind of those internships, but businesses as well. And some of those internships are virtual. So I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities as a result of a very challenging time. But also just appreciate, you kind of setting the stage for us to move forward.
Thank you. I was interviewed by the Harbinger, and they're like, they were asking me what I hoped would stay with the pandemic, and I was like, balance, you know? I'm like, I'm kind of hoping that test optional for the colleges stays, and they start doing, you know, continue with their holistic read of students, and we continue to encourage students to find 1 or 2 activities that they love, that they're passionate about, and, you know, really kind of dig into those, and she kind of laughed. So hopefully that's a great takeaway from the pandemic, you know. I appreciate all of your support.
I just want to make one more comment.
Yes,
and that is to pick up on a little bit what you've said about those offerings that may be online and so forth. And I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about that on Monday. And to really, I think, to Greg's point of all these things that we've had embraced and maybe can stay, is to be flexible when offering kids, you know, maybe an online class that is more suitable for them, right? And they can come down to this lovely library and take it, you know? So that things that don't always have to fit in their schedule like that, to make them, you know, if they're interested in something else. Exactly, so. Because I think kids who can do it and want to do the online should be allowed to do it, yeah.
And I think that's the key, is that interest level really, I think, sometimes drives success in those areas too. So that's something that we have been doing. If there's offerings that, you know, we don't have here at school that a student might be interested in, whether it's like an animal science class or something like that, we have been providing those opportunities to students, you know. We're so fortunate that we have so many great classes that most of our students like can't even get through the courses that we have here, and they're super excited about the courses we have here. But we do have students who are interested in, you know, different things, or maybe who have slightly different needs.
Right.
You know, so we're definitely meeting them where they're at, for sure. And I'm looking forward to Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Well done. And
thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
for staying late. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that concludes my proposed report.
All right, continuing with the superintendent's report to the committee. In your packet is the enrollment report as of March 9th, 2022, and no changes from last month. Also in your packet is the FY23, FY27 capital plan, and I did communicate to Assistant Superintendent Lavoie that he has at the Northborough Financial Planning Committee meeting this evening, presenting the capital plans to the
wondering
financial
where he
planning.
I was wondering where he was, I know.
Lavoie.
Sure that people knew he was still working.
Okay.
And he said, maybe I should come after that meeting. And I said, I won't judge you if you don't come. And I might judge you if you come.
I told him go home.
So we're moving forward with our capital projects. And then also in your packet is the FY23 school committee approved line item budget. And then lastly, the FY23 budget booklet, which contains a wealth of information. And just want to thank Cheryl Lapre and Nancy Bissett for organizing that, as well as the financial department and Becky Pellegrino for collecting all of the data and presenting a pretty thorough document for the community and the committee. And that concludes the superintendent's report to the committee for this month.
Good, thank you. And next up is old business, starting with the athletic complex update.
Sure, so this past Monday, we had a meeting with Gale Associates to get a sense of where they are in terms of their schematic design and the budgeting. We had I think a good meeting. They are very close to finalizing their work. What we're hoping to do is schedule yet another regional school committee meeting for the sole purpose of reviewing the schematic design and going over the cost estimate. The reason why it would be another meeting is because the Northborough Town meeting is April 27th, and our meeting, or 25th, and our meeting is after that. So I'd like to have Gale Associates present to the committee the project and the estimated cost of that project prior to going to the town meeting. Once that is done, Gale Associates will present to the Northborough town meeting and the Southborough town meeting as an informational presentation, as here is the project, here is the potential cost. At the same time, my recommendation to the committee is going to be to establish a athletic complex building committee, who will then take the lead on thinking about how do we market this and how do we get community buy-in throughout next year, and what is that timeline to move it forward for hopefully a annual town meeting vote from the taxpayers. So again, the next milestone date is presenting to the regional school committee meeting. I'll be working with Mr. Desmond on trying to find a date, and then we have presentations at the town meetings, and then establishing the building committee to kind of move this forward in more detail.
With 8 to 9 months of winter here in the Commonwealth, is there any opportunity for an indoor facility as part of that, or
So
no?
that is not included in our design. We're talking about, we did ask the question of Gale Associates, and they talked about anywhere between $30 and $50 million in terms of costs.
I think the term he used was another stratosphere.
And I think that at that point, there wasn't a will to kind of like venture into that. We were focused on
Alright.
kind of what we had in terms of.
Thought I'd ask. All right. Thank you, sir.
You never know, we might have a wealthy benefactor.
Windfall.
Who might be interested in supporting
Mhm.
that type of endeavor. And, Mr. Desmond attended the meeting with Gale Associates this past Monday as well. I'm not sure if you have any updates or.
I think you covered it pretty well, but I mean, it's exciting though. I mean, it's, we got to see all the schematics, and it's gonna be a significant upgrade, and, if we can pull it all off, I think we're gonna have a lot of happy people, so.
I think one thing that, I would like to communicate to the committee and the community is that the Algonquin Athletic Complex was lightly renovated in 2004 with the addition to Algonquin. The track is actually original, it's 1994, so many of the athletic complex is several decades, almost 30 years old, so it is time for an upgrade and an improvement, and it's not whether if, it's really what's the scope going to be. There are going to be some things we have to do, and there might be some decisions with the community about maybe expanding that scope to really think about the next generation of students and community members who access and utilize those resources on our campus.
Okay.
So the presentation to the town meetings is just informational.
So Gale Associates so I'll provide some context.
Yeah.
And then Gale Associates will provide an overview of the schematic design and the cost estimates, and there'll be a Q&A.
I'm just wondering about any confusion, because we come that night to vote on very specific budget items and to have an informational night with some numbers attached, but no, I hope we don't confuse anybody.
Yeah, and I think that on the packet, and Mr. Kalenda probably can speak to this, it's basically presentation. It's very clear around what it is and what
Yeah.
it's not.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a problem. And I think it's a good opportunity. I hear you. But it'll be a
I don't
great
think it's
opportunity
hard.
because people
Before
will
the
be
wars.
voting on it in the not too distant future,
Yeah.
and you don't want to spring it on them.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, in Southborough, that's been the problem. People complain, well, this is the first I'm hearing of this,
Oh.
or
Right.
whatever this
Got
is.
it.
So,
Yeah.
more or less what we're trying to avoid.
Makes sense.
So next on the agenda is the solar update. So Keith Lavoie and I have met with two consultants, Sam Oresco and another consultant, around putting together a proposal for us to really think about continued solar options, but as well as energy efficiency programs where we have more of a comprehensive plan in place. So the solar study group will be convening in the next few weeks once we have those proposals, and we'll be presenting that work to the solar study group with the goal of really, again, looking at our opportunities for energy savings in the future.
Okay.
And do you plan on working with Amoresco? Is that your,
Potentially, we're seeing what they can offer us,
Okay.
and potentially, they're gonna do an audit for us. That's where we're leaning.
Okay.
We've given them addresses, and they're gonna come in and look at our the options that we have.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I always, for years, I've been worried about, the solar companies that pop up and are gone. And Amoresco seems to be one that's here to stay, and it's very well run and very well managed, and, so.
That has been our
good to
initial
hear.
findings, and
Okay.
they work with many solar firms. They
Right.
have no vested interest in marketing one solar firm.
Yep,
And so far, what we've learned, that they are able to bring forth comprehensive opportunity
Mhm.
projects that we can move forward with
Okay.
across our 10 schools.
all right, thank you.
All right, next up is policy development and/or distribution, not at this time. Which brings us to our second public comment period. Is there anyone have anything they'd like to say? Seeing none, we'll move on to personnel, distribution of the personnel report.
So in your packet is the personnel report, no significant changes of an appointment and a couple retirements and 2 resignations. And just to comment on the retirements, it will be nice to end the year being able to honor those folks who've contributed to our organization and honor them and celebrate their work and wish them well in their future endeavors. So.
Indeed. Communications, none at this time. Bills and payrolls are online as usual. Agenda items for next month, we have the school choice public hearing and vote, Northborough-Southborough Music Association. And I think that's all that's on here. Any other ideas are welcome.
I just have a question.
Yep.
So people can follow online now, but like, can they call in and do a public, like a comment? Is there an option for a hybrid meeting, or are we not doing that anymore?
Not if we can help it. The hybrid meetings, I mean, it's very difficult. I don't know if you've ever been on the other end, but it's really hard to hear. And I don't know that
I just had some questions about it from people who could not attend the specific, meeting tonight and wanted, so.
We definitely accept emails. I mean, that's one way. There's an address, that goes to RSC at whatever the rest of it is, and that goes to the chair. Other than that,
Okay.
I guess that would be the best way.
Okay.
My personal preference, it's very difficult to try to manage,
Yes.
2 worlds, a virtual world and
Right.
an
Right.
in-person meeting. So if there was an option, it would need to be very simple and not cumbersome.
Right.
I've not, I'm sure there might be something out there that we probably could explore, but I have not seen something
Yeah,
that is
just
simple and.
wondering if so it's, because some of the town meetings are still virtual, so, and so I think there was some confusion tonight as to if there would be that, so I'm just trying to clarify, that's all.
Okay. Again, my preference is either you're virtual or you're not. Because like Greg said, it's just really hard to manage,
Yep.
it's hard to hear.
Yep.
When you're doing hybrid, so.
And this is live streamed, yes? Yes.
Yes. Okay, any other agenda items for next month? Just let me know. And I believe that's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Dan, seconded by Sean. Any discussion? All in favor? And we are adjourned at
8:25.
8:24.
Wow.
Second.